think my biggest challenge occurred when I was the director of the Chabot Space and Science Center that's located in Oakland, California. Had a staff of about 80 people. It was a brand new facility we had built. We had been open about, a year, and on a Monday afternoon, one of my managers came into my office, my chief operating officer, and informed me that one of our senior managers had been arrested that day, that morning at the Science Center for child molestation. So you can imagine, here you have a science museum that serves children. Well, it turned out that the manager was not guilty. It turned out it was a former spouse who had trumped up charges, but nonetheless, this is an issue I had to deal with. So my manager comes and goes, and right behind him comes in another one of my senior managers. And I'm thinking to myself, this day can't get any worse. And she comes in, she's just pale looking, ashen, and she says, "Mike, one of our staff members committed suicide over the weekend." So one after the other, I had these two really heart-wrenching, and obviously when you start talking about suicide, heart-wrenching situations. So I didn't want my staff to find out via email or indirectly. So I called a staff meeting that afternoon, and everyone knew there was something that was up. So I told them first about the manager had been arrested, and there were a lot of gasps, as you can imagine. And again, that was resolved positively, but at the time, it was a very difficult situation. But then I told them about the suicide, and that was very difficult. And I think what that taught me as a manager is there are very human aspects to our job, things that you don't expect. You don't expect to go in and have one of your senior managers arrested, and then 5 minutes later find out another employee had committed suicide. So you learn about compassion, you learn about how to deal with things, you learn how to deal with your staff, and they really become family at that particular point. So I think the real lessons there are very important. We learn things in the classroom, but the real world quite often can be a little different, and you can imagine trying to handle those two circumstances, those two issues in the same day.
How this experience shape your next management job?
How this experience shaped it was really paying more attention to the human aspects of employees. We often take people for granted, not knowing that someone could be so distraught that they would commit suicide, or that you'd have an outside the workplace issue, spousal type of issue, that each of us, even though we're here to perform a job, we have specific duties, there's a very, very real human aspect of what happens outside the walls of our business, of our college, of our museum, whatever the circumstance has to be. And so I became very, very much so more sensitive to people as individuals. Not that I wasn't before, but even more sensitive to that.
Public speaking is important in your workplace because, well, in my job, I work with customers that come in and they are most of them are business owners. So I have to be able to speak well. I need to be able to speak well and be able to solve their problems for them, because they come in, they need something, and if I am not able to speak to them, if I don't know how to use the right language, if I can't deliver the product that they need, then I'm not as useful as I could be. My personal life, you have a lot more confidence when you just walk around talking to people. If you're talking to just a group of friends, you could stand up and be able to tell a story, or you could tell them some facts about something, or you could explain your position about something a lot better, versus not having this experience with Toastmasters. With Toastmasters, you get the chance to prepare a speech and talk to other people and give and deliver your speech in front of 5, 10, 15, 20 people. And without that experience, you don't have the confidence that you do without speaking in front of so many people.
I would probably say the most difficult thing I have dealt with as a manager is when I had a staff of about 25. Sometimes just the scheduling of your staff. Issues come up with the staff, and of course you're trying to be sympathetic to the staff, but you also have the needs that you need to address in the office. Work still needs to be done, coverage has to be in place, and sometimes juggling that is extremely difficult when you're in a supervisory position. So I would say that stands out most to me in my past. Definitely say make sure you're organized as a supervisor and that you make sure your staff is cross-trained. Cross-training is extremely important. You do not want to have a staff member who only holds the knowledge and that person is out, and then you don't have somebody else available who can cover that. I say cross-training and having procedural manuals in place is extremely important.
Hi, my name is Christy Taylor Pruitt. I'm the Associate Dean of the Library and Learning Commons at Kent Campus. And the question is, what has been your biggest management challenge? And I'm very new to Kent Campus, and I think my biggest challenge has been issues dealing with attitudes. We are undergoing a lot of construction, a lot of renovation, and that causes a lot of uncertainty in some staff. And I think the key for us is to just make sure that the area maintains that very positive attitude that students definitely feel when they walk in the door. They will either feel it or they won't, and staff completely set the tone for that feeling. And I think that maintaining that positive attitude, encouraging staff to accept change and embrace change, and realize that somebody's going to move your cheese pretty often in the workplace. I think that's probably the biggest challenge I've had, is making sure that we don't get sidetracked, that our mission is clear, and that we are focused on servicing the needs of our students, and like I said, having a positive attitude when we deliver those services is the biggest thing that I've seen has been my challenge, because when people are uncertain about their own place in the world, it doesn't necessarily lead to positive interactions with others. So I think that has been the biggest challenge, although there are many others. But I think, for me, that it is making sure everyone has a good, positive attitude and they're very secure.